So Meg, I'm going to hand over to you, but thank you for making this time to be here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here. I'm really excited to share my journey with all of you, and yeah, just thank you for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure. So over to the amazing Dr. Meg Kelly, and take some notes, because she's learned how to thrive and take what life's mystery box brings her.
All right, so today I'm going to be sharing with you my journey to building a thriving business that serves me, and actually I want to add in me and my family, because that's really what this is actually about. So to tell you a bit about them, there's my 6'6" husband. That's how tall he is, very similar to Nick. My family are very sporty. I have 3 girls. My husband, as Ad mentioned, is a canoeist. He's not just your average canoeist. He has been a world champion in canoe marathon. He's a world champion surf ski paddler. And my 13-year-old, who you can see is just as tall as me, I think taller than me now, has followed in his footsteps. She's just actually been selected for the South African junior team to go to Olympic hopes. So that's really exciting. My middle daughter, so my eldest is 13, my middle child is 10. She's actually also a South African champion in canoeing, but her main passion is horse riding, which I share with her because when I was younger, I was a horse rider. And then we have our little one who's now 3, and she says she's going to do a little bit of both. So you can imagine how busy our weekends are. We are either at canoe events, life-saving, nippers, or horse riding, and we live a very busy life in the week and in the weekend, but we do absolutely love it. So I actually started as a veterinary nurse. So that was a 2-year diploma, and then I went on to study veterinary and qualified in 2001. And then studying wasn't enough for me, so I decided then I was going to specialize, and I did a postgraduate certificate at the University of Tennessee in veterinary rehabilitation. So for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a little bit like a veterinary physiotherapist. And, I have been basically a vet now for 24, 25 years. 13 of those years I was in practice. And after a few years of practicing, I very quickly realized that the downside of being a vet was that I was limited by my time. So if I wasn't consulting, I wasn't generating any income. And I remember in the early days, and in an attempt to counteract this, I thought, I need to find another way to generate some income that doesn't rely on my time. And I started a few side hustles, and the one that I can remember, it wasn't successful. I started a veterinary recruitment agency. It didn't last because I didn't have enough vets on my books. So for those of you in South Africa, we have actually a shortage of vets here. So that one wasn't very successful. But I think one of the things that people think, that practicing as a vet's all about hugging and playing with puppies, and I know for a lot of you it looks like a really glamorous job, but in the reality is that we actually work really long hours. I mean, I used to go to work at like 7:30 in the morning, and I would leave again at 7:30 in the night, sometimes later if there were emergencies. I didn't at that time have a lot of time for sport. I didn't see a lot of my friends. I used to work every second Saturday, and before the after hours clinic in Cape Town opened, I was actually on call every second night. I even missed my 30th birthday. So there was a basset that had swallowed a superhero, and it was now stuck in its small intestine. And so on my 30th birthday party, I had to remove that, and I got there at about 11 o'clock. I think there were about 4 or 5 people left, and basically just missed my whole 30th birthday party. At the time, I was working for somebody else as a general practitioner vet, and I started to sort of notice in me that I wasn't happy with my work-life balance. I loved what I did, so it had nothing to do with the work. It's just that I didn't have enough freedom of my time, and I just felt like I was always at work. And there was a way, obviously, I could have done like a half-day job, but then I wouldn't have earned enough money to be able to support myself. And so that wasn't really a possibility. But at the time, I was also canoeing and running, and I just really, every Saturday, my friends were off and doing canoe races, and I wasn't able to do them because I just felt like I was always working. And one of the funny things is I remember, like people when I was younger and I said, oh, I always wanted to be a vet. Everyone wants to be a vet. And, now I always have all these people that come up to me and they say, oh, I always wanted to be a vet. That was like my childhood dream. And it was mine too. And I went on and studied 8 years and I became a vet. And so I thought at that time, this is what I have to keep doing. Everyone wants to have this job. I've got this dream job here. And here I am thinking about what else could I do. Not because I didn't want to help animals or treat them. It was really because I just wanted some work-life balance. And I really didn't think at that time that I had any other options. I thought that was what I had to keep doing. And I got a lot of pressure. I remember even just mentioning it to family members and friends, and they were like, you've been wanting to be a vet your whole life. You got to just keep doing it. So anyway, I pushed on, and eventually I opened my own clinic. And that was absolutely amazing. I loved having my own clinic. It was a specialist clinic, so doing veterinary physiotherapy or veterinary rehabilitation. I had an underwater treadmill. I was teaching paralyzed dogs to walk again. I was making prosthetics for animals, wheelchairs, fitting them. And, it really was the most rewarding job, and I absolutely loved it. My hours improved when I had my own practice. Because it was a specialty practice, I just decided I wasn't going to be open on the weekends. But I still had long hours because the practice was open from like 8 to 5:30, and I still had to go in there and open and then close up and cash up and all of that. And so I was still getting back home quite late, but I did have my weekends back. And then I also had no after hours. I was the only vet in my practice, and I had a 3-week waiting list to see me. And this became a problem in 2010 when I had my first child. And this is when I really, really started to struggle with my profession and how it was sort of affecting my family and my life. Because I had this 3-week waiting list, it was so difficult. Even if I was sick, if my child was sick, I had to keep working. I just had to push through because I had no place to fit those missed consults in. I had a friend of mine that used to take my daughter to swimming for me, swimming lessons in the day. If my daughter was sick, she would have to help me sometimes and take her to the doctor. And this was really hard for me. I recall a time when I came back from work, and it was the 3rd day in a row I hadn't seen my daughter awake. I'd left before she'd woken up, and I came back and she was sleeping already. And I just stood next to her cot, and I remember I just cried, and I just thought, this is not the way that I want to be a mom. And I thought to myself, if I die, do I want to be known as a good vet or a good mom? And not that I ever thought I knew I was a good mom, but I was just not being the mom that I wanted to be. And that was the moment, the turning point for me, where I realized I had to change something somewhere. This wasn't going to work going forward with a family. And so I made a really, really hard decision, and I had a thriving practice, and I made the decision to take a sabbatical from practice. I didn't sell my practice. I did really intend to come back to practice, but I thought I just needed some time when I was pregnant with my second child to have some time to be able to spend with her when she was little, which I didn't have with my first. And in that time, I thought I'm going to try and see if I can find a way to use my veterinary degree to give me the flexibility to be with my family and to do the things that I love with them, and just to give me a little bit more work-life balance. Some way I have to use this degree in a different way. That's not the traditional way. So what I did was I wrote down like what I wanted. I thought to myself, let me just sit down, like what I want my life to be like. And this is what I wrote down. So I wanted it to be flexible enough that if my children needed me, I could be there for them. I wanted my earning potential not to have a ceiling, and I didn't want to be limited by my time like I was with consulting. I didn't want my geographical location to affect my day-to-day. So as a family, we love to travel, and I wanted to be able to do this really easily. I can think of so many holidays in the early days when I still had my practice where I would leave my family in Amarnis on the beach and I would have to go back to work. And I wanted to have freedom in my day. So not to work 7 to 7 every single day, but to work when it suited me. And it maybe sounds like I'm quite a lazy person, but I'm actually far from it. I'm a workaholic. So it wasn't that I didn't want to work. I just wanted to do it on my own terms. And so looking at my list, I thought, well, what are the things that I could do? And for some reason, like working online sort of just came to me. And I thought, well, let me try and explore this. Because I thought, I can work from anywhere. I could work from home. I can be flexible if I'm working online. But being a vet, obviously, my online tech skills were very limited. So I really had to set out to learn as much as I could. So my first attempt was mildly successful in achieving my list. I created an online shop called Holistic Pet. I started manufacturing my own products, harnesses and braces for dogs with mobility problems. And then I also imported products that were not available in South Africa and distributed and sold these on the online shop. And this business ticked most of the boxes, but I did encounter problems, especially when I traveled. And not being around to check the quality of products and then having to deal with the unhappy customers. And then obviously there's also the part where you have to deal with packaging and stock take and quality control and courier collection and things like that. So it wasn't as flexible as I'd liked it to be. The amount of time and the return for me just really wasn't worth it. So I ended up selling that business. My next attempt was creating online courses for pet owners, and this one ticked all the boxes. And I think this is really where my trajectory in my online businesses really took off. I created a 12-week strengthening program. It's for dogs that have mobility issues, like things like arthritis, and it helps to show owners how to build muscles to help support those arthritic joints. And I had a massive tech learning curve when I did this. I ran the entire business myself. I did a lot of the web development on my own. YouTube and Google were my friend. I just Googled how to do things and just tried to work out how to do the coding and things like that. And then I went on to create a massage course as well as a 7-minute doggy workout and 3 ebooks. And I'll never forget the day that I did my very first online webinar, and I offered all my courses and my books as a bundle together. And when I finished, I logged into my PayPal account and I sat there and I watched $99 come into my account about 30 times. And it was just the most amazing feeling. Like I just created something, and granted it took a lot of work, but something that I could sell again and again and again. And I really realized now I'm onto something. Suddenly my income was not limited by my time. And I was always worried if I didn't do practicing as like a veterinarian traditionally, would I have the same feeling of reward that I have when I actually treated animals? And it was even far more than that, because suddenly I was able to help more animals than my hands could alone. I was helping pet owners. I was helping people in all different countries. And I mean, the amount of people that I helped in that 1 hour, not everyone purchased the product, but I think there were like about 700 people online on that day. I did it with another vet. And 30 people bought my course. That was just in 1 hour of my time. And I realize now I can really make such an impact in my field online, and I don't have to use my hands. So my next business actually happened because of a need for myself. So as a veterinary professional, we need to do continued professional development or continuing education to stay on top of the field. And veterinary rehabilitation is quite a new field. And at that time, I was the person in South Africa who was lecturing to all the vets and to the vet nurses and anyone in our field. And I wasn't really feeling like I was growing and I was keeping up to date with my knowledge. At that time, in the whole world, we only had a conference every 2 years. I would always attend that conference. But I felt like I'd read the textbooks from back to front and I just wasn't growing and learning enough. And it was in the time where I was on sabbatical. And I was always just conscious that at some stage I might need to go back to work and have my practice, and I need to keep up to date. And I was attending a conference that was in Uppsala in Sweden, and it was the one that happens every 2 years. And there was a course and like a workshop, it was like 3 or 4 hours on kinesiotaping. And for those of you that don't know what that is, that's like, you see sometimes the sports and athletes, they have this tape that is on their, you'll see them around their knees or around their back or around their shoulder. It's called kinesiotaping. And this gentleman, he was a vet, he was teaching this to do on dogs and cats. And this was not something that I was familiar with. I hadn't learned about it at university. I didn't learn about it when I did my postgraduate certificate. And I had serious FOMO that I had not actually signed up for the workshop. And so I said to him, is there a way you could come to South Africa potentially to teach this? And I thought I would find out if there were a whole lot of people that were interested and we would share the cost of this. And so he said, yeah, sure. And then when he looked at the cost, it was really cost prohibitive. It was so expensive for him to come with his fees, and he was going to fly from the States. And so he mentioned, well, why don't I just do it as a webinar? And having done like a few webinars by that time, I thought, okay, well, I can do this. I can host a webinar. And so I put it out there into South Africa and said, who's interested? And I think there were like 19 people who said they were interested. And so I worked out the cost of the software. It was called Webinar Ninja. I don't even think that's around anymore. And I divided it amongst all 19 of us, and we basically went ahead and learned about this kinesiotaping through this webinar. And after the time, I still at that time was not even thinking this would be a business for me. It was really just a way in which I could share the cost of keeping up to date with my continuing professional development. But after that one, everyone said, let's do another one next month. And so I organized another one. And for the next one, people were like, can someone from Australia join? I've got this friend in the UK. Can they also join? And so the next one I actually made a little bit of money out of, because I had more people that were paying. And then after that one, everyone said, won't you just please organize to do this once a month for the next year, and just give us a flat fee that we'll pay for each one. And so that's how my subscription business for providing continuing education for veterinary rehabilitation therapists was created. And I basically ended up now, so then I think in the beginning it was like 30 members that I had. That was in 2017. And now I have 1,730 members from 71 different countries that all pay me a monthly fee to be able to access the new webinars that I provide every single month, as well as now a recording of 500-600 hours of veterinary rehab specific training. And it's just been such a wonderful journey. I have my own online conference. I have over 5,000 people that attend that. And really, it's one of the things that I've absolutely been so thrilled to have created. And I love my job. I absolutely love every single day helping vet rehabbers. And I feel my impact, because helping vet rehab therapists that are all helping all those animals, I feel like I'm helping so many animals all around the world. So today I have a team of 12 people that work for me. I'm not 100% out of the business, but if I take a month off, it won't have any impact on the business. It'll keep running. 3 years ago, I had a baby, and I took 4 months maternity leave. Last year in January, my husband had a stroke. He was paralyzed. The whole left side of his body was paralyzed. He was in hospital for 3 months. And I had to take just, immediately 4 months off. I had to be there for my family. I had to be there for my husband. And my business carried on with absolutely no effect. So the question is, how do I do this with 3 kids and this busy family of mine? And really, it is a support system. So I have an amazing team in my business, but I also have an amazing team in my personal life. And I have slowly basically eliminated the things that I repeatedly was doing that I feel was eating up my time. And So basically, what I've done is I've bought more time. Time is infinite. We know we've got a certain amount of time every single day. When you're a mom and you've got 3 kids, there is just so much that needs to be done. And whatever I can outsource to somebody else or get someone to help me with, I literally have. This is something that I've done like over time. I didn't just one day say, okay, I'm going to get somebody to do all these things. It really has slowly got to that, but it really has changed my life. So I basically have someone who cooks and prepares my meals for us, lunches, for my kids, for me, checking what we need in the house, creating shopping lists, doing the shopping, whether it be online or in person. I don't do that anymore. If there's any driving that needs to be done, whether that's to fetch something, to drop something off, to drop one of my kids. I've got 3 kids, so sometimes I need to be in 3 places at once, and I need help with that. Answering emails that I don't need to answer, making appointments, scheduling online meetings, any of the appointments that I need making. I have someone that helps me with that. Printing and scanning, it's one of my pet hates. I absolutely hate doing it. I get so frustrated standing there waiting for the scanner. I don't do that anymore. So I have someone who helps me with that. They just print it, I sign it, and they'll scan it and email it back for me. Packing school lunches and bags for school and for when we go on holiday. Tidying and organizing my house, through 3 kids, and I've got a 3-year-old, you can imagine, toys, everything is just always in a mess. I get help with that. Collating my monthly payments and invoices, all those emails just get sent to my PA, and she creates a spreadsheet for me. And once a month I sit down, it takes me 15 minutes to do all my payments. I still like to do those to make sure that I know what I'm paying for. But I don't ever have to look for any bank details. Everything is on that spreadsheet. It's quick, it's easy, and it gets done. And this one might sound like a funny one, but filling my car up with petrol or diesel, I hate doing that. So my car is always full. Somebody else who's driven my car at some time to do one of the lifts ends up filling my car up for me. So what my system looks like, and when I actually wrote this down, I actually laughed because I have an American vet rehab friend who came and stayed with me, and she said to me, "Could you have any more help?" And she laughed and then said to me, "I now actually realize how you do all the things that you do, because before I used to think, how does she do it? How does she do all these things? Because I'm on so many committees and boards, and I'm so active in the vet rehab community." And then she said, now she realizes it. And she said, yeah, I can see how you make it work now. And so, like I said, it didn't always start off like this. I had started off with just a nanny that used to obviously look after the kids when I had my practice. And when I obviously kept my nanny when I went on my sabbatical. And she started helping me with cooking and things like that. When I had 2 kids, that was a little bit harder for her. And so then I got somebody to come and help cook, and she comes now 2 to 3 times a week, twice just short periods, like 2 hours, just to prepare that night's food. And then another time she'll come for a whole day where she literally just makes food for us, and she will freeze that food, and she'll make a hot pot so that we can eat. And I have food stored in the freezer. So when I get home from taking my kids to extramurals, whether it be horse riding and canoeing, I never ever have to think about what I have to eat. We just sit down and I get to have some time with them, maybe time with a little one because I've been out, and get to spend some quality time with my kids, not ever worrying about what's for supper, because it's either defrosting and being heated up or it's ready and cooked there. We also have a housekeeper who's also a driver, and this has been so useful for me. He can collect things, he can deliver things. He's like my personal courier for me at times when I need him. And he also helps me with the dogs and will walk the dogs for me if I don't have time, and just making sure that the house is kept in order. About 5 years ago, I got my first PA in my business, just to help with making appointments and all those emails and the little things that I was struggling to do, because I became so overwhelmed with all the work that I had to do, and I was feeling like I was spending so much more time working and not actually achieving what I wanted to do, and that was to be a present mom. And so my PA really, really helped. My first PA was probably with me for about 2 years, and then she went off to do a social media job. And at that time, I was then pregnant with my third child and thought, well, I think I might need an au pair too now. So I employed a PA slash au pair. So she works full time for my family, and she is here to help with the kids. She helps me if I need to be at horse riding with one kid and at canoeing with another, or swimming lessons. So she'll sometimes be with one of the kids while I'm with the other one, and really just helps with day-to-day everything in my personal life and in my business. And then after my husband's stroke last year, we decided to homeschool our two kids, eldest kids that were at school. My little one still goes to pre-primary. And so in the beginning, I did that all myself. I was homeschooling them, and then now I've got a tutor that helps me with that. And so, this whole support system allows me to do all of this. It allows me to have a thriving business that I work most of the times just in the morning, and then I get to do this in the afternoon. I get to go canoeing, I get to horse ride with my daughter, I get to watch her horse ride, take my little one to swimming lessons, go running with my eldest, and just be the present mom that I wanted to be, that my previous job as a practicing veterinarian didn't allow. So instead of working 60 hours a week, which I used to work as a veterinarian, and probably sometimes it was even more when we had emergencies, I now work 20 hours a week, and then the rest of the time I am with my kids and I'm spending quality time with them. So I love this word, maximizing time. So like people always talk about time management, but it is about maximizing time because you only have a certain amount of time. And so I wanted to give you a sort of a breakdown of how, if you wanted to set something up like this, you don't have to go obviously with so many people, but you can just start. And that's the most important thing, is just to start working out where you can buy more time. And so what I would suggest you do is write down everything you're currently doing, both in your business and at home, and then go through that list and ask yourself, what on here can somebody else actually do? And these are the things that you could potentially delegate. Next, you want to look for things that you're doing out of habit that actually aren't helping you or moving the needle, whether it's in your personal life or when in your business. You want to cross those off and delete them and forget about them. And just off the top of my head, thinking what examples, I remember in my business we were doing Twitter posts, and they really weren't doing anything. It was just a complete waste of time. And I just decided, okay, we're just going to stop. We're just not going to post anything. And it did absolutely nothing. Nothing changed in my business. And not that I do this, but I'm just thinking of something in your personal life. It could be something as like trivial as ironing your underwear or whatever. Like things that you don't need to do. Just find the things that you really don't need to be doing anymore, and just stop doing them. And then you can highlight the things that only you can do, all the ones that light you up. So it could be things that somebody else could do. And for me, I have a lot of those. So somebody could take my daughter horse riding. Somebody could take my daughter to swimming lessons. Somebody could take the little one to school and fetch them. And sometimes they do have to, because I have 3 kids. But those are the things that light me up, and those are the things that I want to do. So I try and do them as much as I can. And a lot of those things are also might be the things that only you can do. So those are the things that need your magic. And then what you can do is all those items that you thought you could delegate, you can start by trying to group them. And what you might think is like, suddenly you see them grouped together and you think, that person could probably help me with that. And you start to find and think of people that could help you and would be willing to help you. And like I said, you don't need to get a full-time person. You could just get somebody a few hours a week just to help with 1 or 2 things to start off with, and then build it up from there. And, I started first, my PA was a virtual PA, so they weren't in my office. Now I have my PA or pair here in my office with me, but you don't have to have that. So they don't have to be like at your house or at your work. And then I think what's really important is you want to set them up to win, and you want to create simple systems that outline like how you want things done so that they do it properly. If you don't know how to do it properly, you can't expect somebody else to do it properly. And I found in all my businesses that I've had, when I haven't had systems in place, I've just been frustrated because I'm like, oh, they're not doing it right. But it's actually been my fault because I haven't given them the right tools and systems and processes to enable them to do it right. So to end off, I wanted to share like 10 lessons basically that I've learned and in this journey. Sorry, I just need a bit of water. So the first one is to create a business that doesn't need you to run it. And this is not as easy as said, because sometimes it does need, businesses do need us, especially if it's a personal brand type of business. But if you're able to, try and create a business that doesn't need you to run it. It allows you the flexibility and the freedom to be able to take time off and still generate income. And this is what I've done with my continuing education business. And it's really, 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 I mean, especially for my family, we sometimes will go away for a month or so overseas. And this has really just been so amazing for us to be able to go there with not having to worry about what's happening in the business. Build a support team around you. I mean, this is what I've been speaking about. Not just the team at your home, but a really good team around in your business. Sometimes, you know, you don't need as many people as I do. I've got a lot of team members, but there are a lot of moving parts to my continuing education business. But what's really important is to get the right people and the people that have the same core values as you, because that means you can go a long way together. You understand one another and you are well aligned. Keep your overheads low, work from home if you can. This was a game changer for me. I mean, having my own practice, my overheads was so high, rental, and I had equipment, and you know, going from that to working from home and knowing that, you know, in December and April in South Africa, I think are just generally bad months for all of us. You know, the overheads and you just are so high and you just don't even reach that break-even point sometimes, some businesses. Whereas when you have low overheads, like working from home, you don't have to worry about that. So that was really helpful for me. Use a subscription model if possible. I love a recurring income. For me, this has been such a game changer. If I look back to when I had my practice, I can remember, you know, the beginning of the month, you start at naught. And then you consult until you reach your break-even point, and then anything after that is profit. And like I said, in April and December, sometimes we didn't even reach the break-even point. We made a loss. And now in my recurring income subscription business, you know, we reached a point quite quickly where we were making profit. And as long as you keep growing and your numbers of members are not decreasing, you will stay in that profit area. And so now I'm in the situation with my business where I never worry about money ever, because I know how much I'm getting next month, and I know that it can cover the expenses, and I know that I'm in profit. And I, for the first time, like, can really just actually focus on my business, and I just focus on my members and giving them the most amazing experience and creating a great and wonderful website for them to be able to continue learning. And the money part of it is really just, you know, obviously it's great to be in that profit situation, but I don't worry about it, and I absolutely love that. Be brave. I think in the beginning, you know, when I first started my online business, like I said, I had no tech skills, and I could have just said, oh, well, there's no ways. There's no ways that I'm going to be able to do this. I don't have that learning. I don't have that background. And I was just brave and just trusted myself and just learned from as many people as I could. And yeah, if you're not brave in this world, you're not going to go anywhere. But I think, you know, the fact that all of you are right here, listening to this conference, you're the brave ones. You're the ones that are saying, let's do this. So yeah, I probably don't have to preach to you guys. Find a great mentor or coach. For a long time in my online business, I tried to do it on my own. I tried to limit the expenses. I didn't want to pay for training. I thought, oh, I can just learn myself. I can find this on YouTube. And it was one of the biggest mistakes that I made. Finding people that can help me and coaches and mentors literally changed my online business. that was really a turning point for me. And so really find someone that's walked the walk already that you can follow, somebody that knows what they're talking about. And it also is lonely out there sometimes. If you have an online business, you don't need to feel alone when you've got somebody, a coach or mentor there supporting you. Creating goals for your business. When I had my vet rehab practice, I never had any goals. I literally was just doing what I was supposed to do, and I think as professionals in medical field, we go and we study to help animals and heal them. And the business side of thing was not something that I even considered. But in my online business, I've had goals and I've celebrated when I've achieved them, and it really has made a difference. So it's not like, years go by and you realize you actually haven't achieved anything. And if you don't create the goals, sometimes you don't actually realize how much you've achieved. Learning from your mistakes. I've definitely failed more than I've succeeded. So there have been so many failures. I've learned so much from them. And I think that's the big thing, is like when you fail, you just got to be prepared to analyze how you did it, how you're going to do it differently the next time. And you can only get better. So yeah, definitely lots and lots of failures from my side. Trust your gut. This is something that took me so long to listen to, and I don't know why. I think it's because I just second judged myself all the time, and I always thought other people knew better, and because I didn't know certain things, then I should listen to them rather and not to myself. But I have a really strong gut, and what I've learned is that if I don't listen to it, I will regret it. So now when I have a gut feeling, I just go with it. I'm just like, that's how I'm feeling, that's what we're going to do. And it's so much so that my team trusts my guts. So when we have big decisions to make, my team will say, Meg, what does your gut say? And whatever my gut says, they say, let's go with it. And we just trust Meg's gut. So yeah, if you have a gut feeling, just learn to trust yourself. There's some subconscious reason that you're thinking that. And sometimes it might not be obvious. It might just be that maybe your core values don't align with that person that you're about to do something, or there's something that's just off, but trust it. And the last one is to be a master of your time. And I've been chatting about, how I've been buying back my time with my support structure around me. Time is the most important thing that you have, and you only have a limited amount of it. And just decide what you want to do with it. You don't have to work all of it. Like me, I work 20 hours a week now, and the rest of the time I'm with my family. But you've got to be a master of it. And I read every single time management book, literally, that comes out. I'll read it in any way that I can find to be more efficient with my time. I'm going to try and do that. So thank you so much. It's been so wonderful, and I hope that my journey has inspired some of you in any small way. So if you've just taken one thing from this talk, I'll be super stoked. If you want to reach out to me, you're welcome to email me at meg@onpetshouse.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Passive Income Veterinarian. Please feel free to DM me if you've got any questions, and yeah, I'm happy to help you wherever I can.
Woo! The amazing Meg. Meg, thank you. The Dr. Meg Kelly. Can we give her a big round of juicy? Let's get that wall fired up. Yes. Let's hit those. Meg, thank you so much. There's obviously so many layers and depths to your story. She just glazed over that. It's about 15 months ago that Graham had a stroke. There you were with a 2-year-old baby, kids, a business, and the reality is life is going to happen. Things are going to come along that you don't expect. And Meg, thank you for sharing how you've put the support in place. Because one of the things that I've certainly had a challenge with in my life, and I see for many people, is being open to receive support. Because I also like how you said, when you get the support, and set them up to succeed. So that succeeding is also receive their support. If you keep hovering around, fucking around, second guessing the support that's in your life, there's no point being there. Or the person who cleans up the house before the housekeeper comes, because you've got some sort of judgment of receiving. So Meg, there's so many things I could ask you about, when Graham had his stroke, and Meg and I think one of the things that really you inspire me about is you don't fall into victim mode, into why me, what this, that pity party. It's fucking tough sometimes. And you had a year from hell last year, but in that you were able to keep your compass and stay connected with you and sign and keep the support. What do you think has helped you not fall, in times when they've been tough, just not fall into that victim mode, but to keep going? What's your why?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's my why is my family. I mean, I just knew I had to keep it together. I mean, they just, my kids nearly lost their dad, to see their dad in a wheelchair, and not knowing whether he was going to come right. But saying that, I just knew deep down he would. I was 100%, even, after he'd had the op, when he was slurring and he couldn't talk, and I just said to him, I know it's going to be okay. So deep down in me, I knew. But my why has always been for my kids and for my husband, for my family. I have to keep it together. But I think when, there are times, if I think back now, in my business where I've been completely overwhelmed. And let's say this had happened to me maybe 5 years ago. I think that it would have been a very different outcome. I think I probably would have just broken down and not coped with it. Because 5 years ago, I didn't have the support system around me. And I didn't have all the systems and processes in my business that would allow me to be able to step back like I did. So I really think it's my team at my business, that have helped to put all these systems into place. I've got an amazing general manager. She's so good with organizing, and she just, has made it so that no matter what happens, if one team member just has to step back, all of us will be able to take over, and the business will carry on running. So that really has been a game changer.
Oh, Meg, you're really describing these frameworks that we get to put in life to support us. And, the support structure, a lot of people can feel, it's weak, or it's greedy, or it's lazy. The story that being the superhero is we do it all ourselves on our own. Was that ever an aspect for you, actually that deep permission piece to actually receive, or even, was there any fear of judgment of other people, like, oh, who do you think you are, or the diva syndrome? And maybe some of you can relate. What are some of the reasons you don't let yourself get the support?
Maybe in the early days, like maybe I had a little bit of that, like I can do this all on my own, and I am one of those type of people. Like I'm a capable person. But I think, when I had kids, something just shifted and changed for me. I just knew, like, I need help, and that's okay. Like, anyone who can help me, please, like, help me so that I can be there for them. So, yeah, I definitely think there was a part of me at some stage that thought I would just do it all on my own. I actually remember in my online business, and just thinking back now, and I was completely doing it all on my own, everything, and the learning on my own, everything. And, you just reminded me of this like shifting day, actually. I bought an online course, and it was the first online course that I had bought. And up until then, I had been learning through books and sort of cheaper resources because I didn't have money. And I bought this online course, and it was like $2,500. And, obviously in rands, it was the exchange rate. It was so much. And I didn't have it. I bought this, and I took it on one of those, like, pay it over 12 months. And I just remember saying to myself, okay, like, you're just going to have to pay that off every single month. Like, you're going to have to find a way to make that $170 or whatever you have to pay each month. So that's all you have to do. Like, don't worry about the big one. Next month you have to make $170 to pay that. And that was the time when I was like, obviously doing everything on my own, and I thought that I could sort this online business out, and I could work this out with all the books and everything that I was reading. And literally, I think it was about a month later, I had my first like $3,880 day. That was like my first big day. And I was like, here I was, like, wasted this last like 2 years or year and a half trying to do this all on my own. I purchased this course, and I now have access to people that can help me and support me, and all this information. And you could log in, and there were people that you could ask questions, and like just within a month and a half, look what I've done. And I think for me that was a turning point. From then it was like, well, that's it. I need people, people to help me with this. I'm not doing this on my own anymore. I'm fine to have people, and I'm prepared to pay for it.
Oh, I love that, because I think, and Meg really has inspired me to say, okay, what more support can I bring in? Where am I doing stuff that really is not allowing me to fully step into my full, thriving, free life? And use that checklist. She said, look at that, and do a time audit over the next week, month. Like, what are stuff you're doing that somebody else could? We have a privilege. When we've got a privilege to be able to be creators, we have the privilege of being able to create something that somebody else can do. You literally have created, what's your support team? Did you say 12, 14?
12.
12, woohoo!
12 in my business, and then 5 at home.
There we go. Hell yes, well bragged. I mean, that's 17 people it takes to support this extraordinary woman to live her amazing life. Are you prepared to open yourself for 17 people it takes to create the magnificent Meg? But she gets that ripple out. And I think when we can you see how beautifully she sits in that? Meg's learned how to receive, because she knows that it's not about her. It's about something vast more. And she creates this family, this environment, these jobs for people who also now get to thrive and create outwards. You've just launched a book with one of your staff who learned a whole new skills in creating stuff. I think when we let go, that receiving support isn't some hierarchical thing. There's this amazing ecosystem that expands out. I hope you've really taken some notes of what it is to create the frameworks and the systems for you from Meg. But Meg, as we close off, what is one of the things that has really helped you, that you're so grateful that you chose, that your past self chose for the future self that you're doing now, that felt maybe brave or scary? There are many things you shared, but that really, when you think back, you are so grateful that your past self did that you get to live the life you're living now.
I definitely think that would be probably having like a coach or mentor. So I remember like so scared to invest, because it's really expensive, to have somebody to support you like that. But that really, for me, changed things. So I think for me, it's always been investing in help, whether it be knowledge, whether it be a coach or a mentor. It's always scary. You always think, oh, am I going to invest this money, and is it going to be worth it? And for me, like I said in my talk, is if I learn one thing from something, I'm always like, it was worth it. So yeah, I think for me it's probably investing in my knowledge and in mentors and coaches.
Oh, I love it. And I'm so grateful that Meg is in my life, because truly who you're around just inspires you. And Meg, you inspire me over and over. And thank you for being in my world. Love you, my darling.